We now is Sourabh Gupta. He's with the Institute for China-America Studies. He's a senior Asia-Pacific International Relations Policy Specialist. What do you see as the takeaways from the dialogue? Obviously, they're going to be talking about the tensions on the Korean Peninsula, but what are some of the things that you look to on the agenda?
What I would be looking to on the agenda actually is, and what is going to be discussed tomorrow by Secretary Mattis, is a definition of what the U.S. sees as being the Indo-Pacific and what that strategy is. There's been talk about the Indo-Pacific. We know it's a geographic construct, but it's also a strategy. Now, what is that strategy? And a lot of people in Asia are looking forward with anticipation to understand as to just exactly where the Americans are going with this concept of Indo-Pacific. Note, the U.S. Pacific Command is now being called the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command. So just when Secretary Mattis fleshes this out in greater detail, I think it will be very, very important.
It is vague, though, isn't it? I mean, and Christians, because of the vagueness, especially in China, are like, what do they mean?
Understandably so, but there is a tendency when something like this is just thrown out and something as grand as this is thrown out, there's always the suspicions and the questions, and understandably so. And as people start teasing these concepts out in greater detail, you have clarity whether this is something which we should be embracing, and I think we should be embracing, frankly, or can this be something which goes on lines which becomes something like containment light, which is not something terribly welcome. And as Prime Minister Modi talked about, it needs to be open, it needs to be an open, transparent, and inclusive architecture, and that's how Asia has succeeded so far and must and will succeed if it remains open, transparent.
Obviously, people will be listening for what Secretary Mattis has to say, but you brought up Modi and a lot of people listening to what he had to say. He did have some encouraging things to say about China. He said cooperation is expanding, both countries displaying wisdom and maturity in managing issues and ensuring a peaceful border. Those are the right kind of notes you want to sound, especially given the tensions that have been there in the past.
Exactly. Those are very good notes to be sounded. I think he gave a very well-delivered speech. And it wasn't just that China was, he had kind words or nice words to say with regard to China. He situated that within the context of India's own strategy in the Indo-Pacific, which is not about containment against any one party or country or joining any exclusive clubs. It is that fundamental adherence and commitment to openness, transparency, inclusiveness, non-protectionism, and also to ensure that international norms are respected and that we don't go down the route of great power rivalry or just power over norms. And I think from that perspective, it was well delivered, and and how China fitted in within that context of his speech was very useful.
Sourabh Gupta, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for coming in on this Friday evening. Appreciate it.
Thank you.